Have you ever walked into a room and immediately noticed a woman who just had something? She wasn't wearing the most expensive outfit, her bag wasn't the loudest in the room, but something about her made everyone's eyes drift in her direction, quietly, almost unconsciously, and stayed there. And you stood there thinking, what is it? What does she have that I can't quite name? I'll tell you exactly what it is. It's not a designer label. It's not a perfect face. It's not even her confidence, though that comes with it. It is something far more precise, far more deliberate, and honestly, far more accessible than most women realize. It is her grooming. Not grooming in the basic sense, not just clean skin and brushed hair. I mean the kind of grooming that speaks before she opens her mouth. The kind that signals self-discipline, refinement, and an almost effortless attention to detail. The kind that the old money world has always understood, and the fashion industry has quietly built entire empires around. Today, I am going to walk you through 9 subtle grooming habits that instantly make any woman look more refined. And I mean instantly. Not after a 6-month transformation, not after spending thousands. These are the small, precise things that quietly separate women who look polished from women who look pulled together, but not quite there. If you're new here, welcome. This channel is about the kind of elegance that runs deeper than trends, the quiet luxury of a woman who knows exactly who she is. Make sure you subscribe before we go further, because what we talk about here is not something you find everywhere. Now, let's get into it. Number 1. The skin that looks rested, not treated. There is a version of skincare that the refined woman understands deeply, and it has nothing to do with a 10-step routine plastered across your bathroom counter. It has to do with how your skin looks at noon on a Tuesday, when you're standing in natural light with no filter and no powder. Does it look rested? Does it look like someone who drinks water, sleeps well, and moves through life with some degree of calm? Or does it look like someone who is fighting their skin, covering it, correcting it, concealing it? Here is what most women don't realize. The most expensive-looking skin is not glowing in the dramatic, highlighted, almost wet way we see on social media. That is a trend. Real refinement is different. Real refinement is skin that looks even, calm, and alive. Skin that has a quiet luminosity, not a blinding one. The grooming habit here is not about which products you use. It's about consistency and simplicity. Women who look refined have a small routine they follow without exception. They cleanse gently. They moisturize while their skin is still slightly damp. They wear SPF, not occasionally, every single day. They do not pick. They do not experiment wildly with their skin every 2 weeks. And here's the detail most people miss. They keep their skin looking like skin, not like a porcelain mask. There is a visible texture, a humanness to skin that looks truly healthy. The moment you try to erase every pore, every shadow, every natural variation, something starts to look off, overdone, try hard even. The refined woman's skin says, I take care of myself quietly, consistently, and well. That is the habit. That is the signal. Number 2, the eyebrow that frames the whole face without screaming. I want you to think about the last time you noticed a woman's eyebrows. If you noticed them immediately, if they were the first thing your eyes went to, there is a high chance they were too much, too dark, too drawn, too perfectly architectural. Because refined eyebrows are not meant to be seen first. They are meant to frame the face so seamlessly that what you notice first is the woman herself, her expression, her eyes, her presence. This is one of the most underestimated grooming details in the entire world of quiet luxury aesthetics. Overgroomed brows, whether they're penciled in too heavily, laminated into a stiff upward shape, or so precisely shaped that they look painted on, are a visual form of trying too hard. And trying too hard is the one thing that quietly dismantles the illusion of refinement. Understated brows, filled in lightly, shaped to follow your natural arch, softened at the edges, give the face an ease that no amount of contouring can replicate. Here is the specific habit. Get your brows professionally shaped at least once every 4 to 6 weeks. Not necessarily threaded or waxed into a dramatically different shape, just cleaned up, maintained. And between appointments, you handle them yourself. A spoolie brush every morning to set them in place, a small amount of product applied with a light hand, and the discipline to walk away before you do too much. The goal is a brow that looks like yours, just better. Not someone else's brow on your face. Yours. Elevated. That subtlety is everything. Number 3. The hands that tell the truth about a woman. Here is something no one warns you about when you start curating a more refined appearance. Your hands will give you away. Every time. You can wear a perfectly tailored coat, carry a beautiful bag, wear your hair pinned back in the most elegant chignon you've ever achieved. And the moment someone glances at your hands, the entire story either confirms or contradicts itself. Hands are one of the first things people subconsciously assess, not because they're looking for flaws, but because hands are honest. They show effort, or the lack of it. They show how much of your self-care extends beyond the parts that are immediately visible. The refined woman understands that grooming is whole body, and the hands are a non-negotiable part of that. The habit here is not complicated. It is simply this: your hands are never an afterthought. Your nails are kept at a consistent length. Not necessarily long, not necessarily short, but deliberate and even. They are filed, not bitten or jagged. If you wear polish, you maintain it. Chipped polish is worse than bare nails. Always. A soft nude, a classic pale pink, a quiet burgundy, a clean clear coat. These are the polish choices that read as refined rather than trendy. Your cuticles are hydrated. You keep a small hand cream in your bag. Not a novelty scent, not a thick industrial formula, but something light and subtly fragrant that you apply after washing your hands. This single habit, done consistently, changes the texture and appearance of your hands entirely over time. And dry, cracked, neglected hands with unkempt nails will quietly undercut everything else you've built. The truth is in the hands. Keep them telling the right story. Number 4. The hair that looks chosen, not just brushed. There's a difference between hair that has been brushed and hair that has been intentional. Brushed hair says, I did the minimum. Intentional hair says, I made a decision this morning about how I wanted to present myself, and I followed through on it. Refined women, regardless of their hair type, straight, wavy, curly, natural, have a signature. They know what their hair looks like at its best, and they consistently move toward that, not away from it. This is not about having salon-perfect hair every day. That's exhausting and unrealistic, and anyone who tells you otherwise is either lying or spending 4 hours a day with a blow dryer. The habit is this: choose a style for the day and commit to it completely. A low bun is only elegant when it's smooth at the crown and the escaped pieces look like art, not accident. A ponytail only reads refined when it's set at the right height, neither too low to be sloppy, nor too high to be casual, and when the base is wrapped or pinned rather than showing a plain elastic. Loose hair only signals elegance when it's been given some shape, some smoothness, some direction, not when it's simply left to do what it wants because you ran out of time. The small grooming habits in hair care. A boar bristle brush used gently before you style. A light serum or oil on the mid-lengths and ends to manage frizz and add softness. A consistent trim every 8 to 10 weeks so the ends never look depleted. These are the habits of women whose hair always seems to be working with them, not against them. And here is the detail that most people overlook: the nape of the neck, the edges, the hair at the back of your head that you cannot always see, but other people always can. The refined woman checks this. She smooths it. She makes sure that the back of her hair tells the same story as the front. Because refinement is 360 degrees, not just the angle facing the mirror. Number 5, the scent that arrives before you and lingers after. Fragrance is grooming. This is not spoken about enough, and I want to correct that right now. The women in old money and quiet luxury spaces have always understood something about scent that the broader fashion world is only now beginning to articulate. The right fragrance is part of your personal uniform. It is as deliberate as your coat, as intentional as your shoe choice, and as powerful as your posture. But there is a way to wear fragrance that reads as refined and a way that reads as overwhelming. The refined woman does not bathe in her perfume. She does not reapply compulsively throughout the day. She applies it carefully to her pulse points, perhaps behind her ears, at her wrists, at the base of her throat, and she allows it to become part of her skin chemistry, part of her presence, something that people notice as they lean in, not as she walks through a room like a fragrant cloud. The specific grooming habit around scent is two-part. First, choose a signature fragrance, not the trending one, not the one that's all over social media this season, but one that genuinely suits your skin, your personality, and the image you are cultivating. Wear it long enough to understand it. Let it become yours. Second, layer intelligently. A scented lotion before your fragrance, an unscented deodorant that won't compete. Consistent hygiene that creates a clean, neutral base for your scent to sit on. The woman whose fragrance you remember weeks after you've met her, whose scent becomes part of how you think of her, that is not an accident. That is a grooming habit, practiced and refined over time. Your scent is your signature. Treat it that way. Number 6, the posture that grooming builds and grooming requires. Now, this one might surprise you, because we don't always think of posture as a grooming habit. But consider this: when a woman takes care of herself, when she tends to her skin, her hair, her nails, her scent, something shifts internally. She walks differently, she sits differently, she carries herself with a quiet awareness that her outer world is being managed, and that awareness changes how she moves through the physical one. But there is also a direct grooming connection to posture that most people miss. The way your clothes sit on your body is dramatically affected by how you hold your body. A beautifully cut blouse will look entirely different on a woman who is slightly hunched forward versus one who is standing at her full height, shoulders gently back, neck long. This is not about military rigidity. It is about ease. The ease of a woman who is comfortable in her own body and therefore does not fold herself around it apologetically. The grooming habit here is intentional body awareness. Stand in front of a full-length mirror, ideally once a day, even briefly. Look at your full silhouette, not to criticize, not to dissect, but to observe. How are you holding yourself? Where is the tension? Where are you collapsing? A rolled shoulder is a common issue, often caused by hours at a desk or looking at a phone. A gentle roll back and down, done consistently, begins to change the default position of your shoulders over time. A daily stretch for the chest and upper back makes a visible difference within weeks. And here is the fashion truth behind this habit. No outfit, however exquisite, looks the way it should on a body that isn't being worn with confidence. Refinement is not just how you look, it is how you inhabit yourself. Groom your posture the way you groom everything else, with consistency, with intention, and with patience. Number 7, the lips that are always ready. Let me paint a picture. You are in a conversation. The woman across from you is well-dressed, clearly put together. But as she speaks, your eyes drift to her lips, and what you see there is dry, flaking, slightly dull skin. Or perhaps a lipstick applied hours ago that has now migrated slightly and settled into small lines. The entire illusion of polish, just slightly, breaks. This is what we mean when we talk about grooming at the detail level. It is not dramatic. It is not something she would even know you noticed. But the subconscious registers it, and something in the overall assessment shifts. The lips are one of the most visible, most expressive, most constantly moving parts of the face, and yet they are one of the most frequently neglected in terms of daily maintenance. The refined woman's lip habit is simple but non-negotiable. She exfoliates her lips gently, once or twice a week, not aggressively, just enough to keep the surface smooth and even. She applies a nourishing balm as part of her nightly routine, so she wakes up with soft, hydrated lips that take product beautifully. During the day, she carries a small balm in her bag, a simple, quality one, and applies it as needed, not obsessively, just enough to maintain. If she wears lip color, she applies it with a liner, not necessarily to exaggerate the shape, but to define the edges, prevent feathering, and extend the wear. A lip that stays where it's meant to stay for 3 hours reads as significantly more polished than one that's moved by lunchtime. And the color itself, refined lip choices are almost always rooted in what flatters the individual skin tone, rather than what's trending. A perfect nude that makes your lips look healthy and defined. A deep berry for evenings that feels like a signature. A subtle tinted balm for daytime that requires almost no maintenance. Lips that are always ready, smooth, hydrated, either naturally beautiful or deliberately colored, are one of the quietest signals of a woman who tends to herself completely. Number 8. The clothes that are groomed, not just worn. This is the habit that elevates the wardrobe you already have. And it might be the one that surprises you most, because it's not about buying anything new. Refined women groom their clothing. They treat their wardrobe the way they treat their skin, with regular maintenance, with attention, with an understanding that things only stay beautiful when they are cared for properly. What does this mean in practice? It means you own a fabric shaver, a small, inexpensive tool, and you use it regularly on your knitwear, your blazers, your wool trousers, so they never look pilled or tired. It means your clothes are stored properly, folded or hung depending on the fabric, so they don't arrive at your body already defeated by wrinkles and creases. It means you press your clothing, not necessarily with a full iron every time, but with a clothes steamer, or even just a few minutes of steam from a shower, so that the pieces you put on your body look intentional, not slept in. It means you check for loose buttons before you leave the house, not after you notice one mid-meeting. It means you know when an item needs to be retired, when the color has dulled, when the shape has gone, when no amount of washing and pressing will restore it, and you let it go. The most expensive outfit in the room is not always the most refined one, but the most consistently maintained wardrobe always reads as more elevated than its price tag suggests. A beautifully kept mid-range coat will always look more sophisticated than a designer one that's been neglected. This is the truth the old money aesthetic has always understood. It is not what you have, it is how you keep what you have. Groom your clothes the way you groom yourself. Both need it. Both deserve it. Number 9. The routine that holds everything together. And here we arrive at the final habit, and in many ways, the most important one, because none of the 8 habits we've discussed are difficult individually. Skincare, brows, hands, hair, fragrance, posture, lips, clothing care. Each one is manageable. Each one is accessible. But the woman who executes all of them, consistently, not just when she's in the mood, not just for special occasions, is the woman who builds that ineffable quality we noticed at the very beginning of this video. That something. That something is discipline made beautiful. It is the result of a woman who has decided, quietly, privately, and firmly, that she is worth the effort of daily tending. Not because the world demands it, not because she is performing for anyone, but because how she presents herself is an extension of how she values herself. And she values herself completely. The refined woman has a morning routine she follows without negotiating with herself about it. It may be 15 minutes or it may be 45, but it is consistent. It has an order. It moves through the essential habits: skin, hair, fragrance, clothing, with the ease of something practiced. She has an evening routine that prepares her for the next day. Clothes chosen, or at least considered, skin cleansed and nourished, nails checked, bag restocked. Whatever small repairs need to happen, a missing button, a scuff on a shoe, a near-empty hand cream, noted and addressed. This is not perfectionism. It is not a punishing standard. It is simply the habit of a woman who has decided to be intentional about her own life. And here is what no one tells you about building a routine like this. It gets easier, and then it becomes effortless, and then it becomes who you are. The woman who walks into the room with that ineffable quality, the one who makes everyone's eyes drift in her direction without quite knowing why, she is not naturally different from you. She has simply been consistent longer. She has shown up for herself, quietly and without fanfare, day after day, until the results became undeniable. Before I close this video, I want to say something that I think matters. Refinement is not about becoming someone else. It is not about erasing your personality or suppressing your joy or turning yourself into some rigid vision of elegance that doesn't fit your actual life. It is about deciding that you deserve the version of yourself that has been tended to, the version that shows up intentionally, the version that walks through the world feeling, not just looking, like someone who takes herself seriously. These 9 habits are not a transformation. They are a conversation you start having with yourself. And when you start having that conversation consistently, kindly, patiently, everything around you begins to reflect it. Your skin tells the story. Your hands confirm it. Your fragrance signs it. Your clothing frames it. And your routine sustains it. That is what refinement looks like. Not loud, not dramatic, just real, quiet, and completely unmistakable. If this video resonated with you, if you've been thinking about elevating the way you show up for yourself, subscribe to this channel. We talk about quiet luxury and old money elegance, not as a costume, but as a lifestyle. A way of moving through the world that begins from the inside and works its way out. And if you have a friend who has been searching for this kind of content, the kind that actually goes deep, share this video with her, because some conversations are better when you're having them together. I'll see you in the next one.